before you put it up here, the stuff's still going to be done.
Okay.
Or either that is just
Right.
running.
Everybody get food.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, IBM, for
IBM.
sending pizza and bread. Thank you.
I'll take another one.
They have little phone chargers. If anybody didn't get one or came in late, they want to make sure everybody gets one of those.
Cool. I can get another one. I'll be happy.
So, welcome to the DFW DataViz group. This may be our biggest turnout yet. So fantastic. Yep. If you're not a member of the group, at bit.ly DFW DataViz, you can join the group and get notifications when we schedule new events or get communication from the group. We cover topics from hardcore coding for data visualizations all the way to marketing, infographics online, SEO of images, and everything in between. How to do better charts, that kind of stuff. So the group covers the full gamut. Anybody still needs to get on the Wi-Fi? Anybody not able to get on the Wi-Fi? If not, I can't help you. SMU guest is the Wi-Fi, and you actually have to give it your email, and it emails you a password to use for the next 24 hours. Catch-22 is you can't use your laptop to get to your email to get the password. You have to get it on your phone. Oh, it texts you also. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
In general, if you want to tweet along, I just started a live Periscope stream for the first time. We're experimenting with that. DFW DataViz is generally the hashtag we use, so feel free to post at will on social media. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Randy Crum. I run a company called InfoNewt, where we design data visualization and infographics for clients all over the world. I run the website, coolinfographics.com, and wrote the book Cool Infographics. Looks like this. Online, you can download a free chapter if you want to sample the book. That'll be my pitch tonight. You're welcome. Also, I have a handful of copies if you just want to page through one. I have live copies here as well. But coolinfographics.com/book is where you can find everything about the book. We have a group. When I say we, it's not really the DataViz group, but the data visualization global community on LinkedIn that talks about the craft of designing data visualizations or publishing DataViz or different types of tools. We try to do a pretty good job of moderating out people that just show up and say, hey, look at my infographics. We really want it to be a discussion between people who are either interested in the topic or doing it professionally, that type of thing. So you're all welcome to join at bit.ly Cool Info Group. I do teach a class. Thank you to SMU for providing us space. They provide us space every month. I'm teaching a DataViz and infographics design class through their CAPE program. It'll be down at the Dallas site for CAPE. It's going to run from April 5th to May 10th. So it's 6 weeks, 3 hours a night, 1 night a week. For you guys, they have set up this discount code MUDV316, Meetup DataViz 316, to get $50, I believe, off the price of the course. It's a really long URL, so I like to set up these bit.ly links so that even this bit.ly link is long. But you can find it if you search for it, either on my site or on the SMU site. We'll start up in April. We're going to talk about tools to design DataViz, how to structure infographics, how to design your own infographic resume, how to publish infographics and any DataViz graphics online so that Google knows how to index it and shares it, and stuff like that. And then we get into, at the end, more even animated and some interactive type infographics. That discount code, MUDV316, actually gets you discounts to a whole bunch of DataViz and analytics-related courses from SMU. There are a couple, I believe, of these instructors here this evening. Would anybody like to stand up and say a few words about your class?
I have a class. So my name is Shravan Graju. I have a predictive analytics class starting in May. I think it's May 12, 2016, Thursday,
May 12.
6 to 9. 6 classes, 3 hours, applying predictive analytics to drive improved business results.
I'm Sadhu Hegde. So I'm the instructor for the Big Data and the Hadoop workshop. The workshop shows a lot of hands-on assignment as well. So we'll be learning the big data, what's big data, what's big data analytics, what are the use cases, and also what are all the tools, technology, and the techniques to capture the data, integrate the data, and analyze the data. So we'll be learning all the open source tools and technologies to solve big data problems.
Hey guys, my name is Brian Williams. I'll be running the Master in Technical Sales course, strategy, systems, and processes. So a lot of times these technologies are difficult to communicate and to get the prospect or market to understand exactly what the product or service does. So we can help you with that, creating systems and processes behind that. I also run a meetup with the same type of content. We'll be meeting on Thursday. And if you go to Meetup and put in technical sales, my name, Brian Williams, spelled just like the news broadcaster. But I don't tell any lies over there, it'll be all true.
Wait, it's sales, right?
Don't get sales confused with technical sales.
Okay. Okay. 3, was there a fourth? Was there a fourth instructor?
Abi.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
there you
name is
go.
not there, but I'm Abi and I teach mobile marketing, tools, tactics, and strategies. So if you want to learn about mobile marketing and how you can use mobile as a channel for your advertising, come to my class. It's in June.
You know what starts in June? Okay. So you can use our discount code MUDV316. Lee will have you tell me, I know it does $50 off of my class, but all these classes have different prices, so I don't know what that it's some discount off of any of these classes through Kate. Tonight's sponsors, thank you again to IBM for food and the swag they handed out a moment ago. SMU for providing us space, and also Visme supports us. Anybody familiar with Visme? Have you heard me talk about Visme before? So Visme is an online tool that allows you to design presentations, infographics, charts, web graphics, that type of thing. It's a subscription model. It's like, I think, $7 a month. And you can do a couple for free just to try it out and get access to all the tools. They provide us a whole lot of support, but also a discount code, COOL30. Because it's a subscription, this will get you 30% off for the life of your account, not just your first year or your first payment. It's forever. So we really thank Visme quite a bit. Employment, we like to stop and ask if anybody is currently hiring. Anybody currently looking to hire, whether it's designers, data analytics, big data, anything that you'd like to stand up and mention that you're hiring and what you're looking for. Start on the left. That's you.
I'm on my right.
Yeah, sorry.
I work for Qlik Analytics, which is a healthcare analytics company here in Dallas. So if anybody has any R visualization skills, I'd love to talk to you. My name is Jeff Bell, so feel free to find me afterwards.
Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead.
My name, sorry, I'm in the middle of the class. I mean, you're never supposed to turn your back on anyone, so I'll just do this and look back to you guys. My name is Wendy Clothier. I work for Hilti. We are 3 minutes up the road, right across from Cafe Express, the shops at Legacy. And we are looking forward to folks who can help us with our technical marketing of some of our software products as well as designers. So, you want to see
Excellent, thank you.
Or just check our website, hilti.com.us.
How do you spell that?
HILTI.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Naresh. I work for a company called Trilio. We are into big data and digital consulting, hiring a lot of big data analytics folks. If you have experience working on Hadoop, big data technologies, come find me.
Hello everybody, I'm Mukul Mohan. I work for CGI. We are looking for folks full-time that can actually develop wonderful reports and analytic solutions for our clients, travel full-time and also be able to do a lot of demo and presentations, but be on the road 100% of the time and sell and create solutions engineers and so. Thank you.
All the money's worth it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody want to stand up and say you're looking for work and what you do? If not, those are the guys you want to talk to. Some of our past events, this is on me because I'm slow. I've put a handful of videos up on YouTube of our past speaking events. I have the raw data, the video files from about, I think, 2 or 3 more that I haven't put up yet. But we're trying to put an archive, and that's why it's recording now. just so you guys can see the stuff you missed, or if you remember, man, I remember they said something or they mentioned a website or something like that, you can go back and find it on our YouTube channel. Upcoming events, I will mention I'm giving a talk this Friday at Creative Mornings. So Friday morning in Dallas at the Surge bookstore. I'm going to do a discussion on the language of DataViz. It's going to be a short 20 to 30 minute talk on the language of DataViz for Creative Mornings. But let me open it up. Does anybody else have an upcoming event or group? I know, Scott, you would, but anybody is welcome to share.
My name is Scott Van. I'm the president of the DFW Search Engine Marketing Association, which is 12 years ago when it started. That was all about getting ranked #1 in Google, but that we have evolved over the 12 years, and it's about anything that has to do with digital marketing now. Tomorrow night we have Brad Palmer coming in from Houston, who works at Blinds.com, which was recently purchased by Home Depot. And he's received a lot of notoriety for being able to display important data in easy to understand ways and make it look presentable, because you can have all the best data in the world, but if it doesn't look good, then you're not able to do much with it. And so by the end of his presentation, you'll understand why success is not just what you say, but how you engage, the value of production and shaping people's perceived value of your brand, and how to engage an audience with dynamic data-driven media. Our website is dfwsem.org. The event is tomorrow evening. It's 6 o'clock. We start checking in, and there's a networking time you get a free drink and some finger foods, and then the meeting from 7 to 8, and afterwards another networking time where we have some pizza, stuff like that, and more drinks. And if you go to the website, if you've never been to any of our meetings before, the first one's free. There's a code down in the write-up. You can use that discount code to register for the first time for free. It should be a great evening. We usually have about 100 to 125 people there, and so it's a great time to network and get to meet some other people in the industry.
Did you mention where it was?
It's at
Is it going to be at Noah's or not?
Yes, we're still at Noah's
Okay.
At 75, roughly 75 in Campbell Road in Richardson.
I'll add that's a great group. I've gone to a number of them. They do monthly events and, again, have a broad range of topics. And I don't know if you want to mention, they also, once you join the group, you get notification of all of them.
Right.
But the State of Search Conference every year is just fabulous as well.
Thank
you. Any other events? Anybody know if there's something coming up you want to mention that may be of interest?
Hey, I'm Ajay Shetty. I work for consulting right on the street. One of our NoSQL partners, Couchbase, like they're having an all-day free educational event on this day. It's happening right here at Planning Park on January 19th.
On the 19th, is that what you say? Anybody else? Anything else you want to share? Any events, conferences, talks, anything coming up? All right. Draw for a book. Everybody get your card in.
Yep.
Anybody last minute want to throw your name in the hat?
Nope.
Kim, we're going to make you pick. Or win. No, sorry.
I was going to say, oh, that's my card. No, Connie.
Connie wins.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
Excellent. Congratulations, Connie. I will give you this. So if you go to that site and log in, it'll give you the choice to pick one of those ebooks to download.
Does that mean O'Reilly is a sponsor?
O'Reilly is a sponsor, kind of remotely. Okay, let me introduce Kim. Kim will be our speaker tonight. Kim Bedore, did I say that right?
You did?
Kim's from IBM, came up from Houston yesterday, I think, right? Or today, this morning. But I'll let you sort of introduce yourself.
Okay, sounds good.
And let's switch over to your projector.
Yeah, let's go.
Get all that stuff out of your way.
Hey, where are your glasses?
They're still there.
See, I can't even see them.
You
without
can see your glasses.
So, if you heard that, I was asking Randy where his glasses were. I was in a hurry to get over here and left my glasses in my hotel room. It's a little challenging to see your screen without your glasses when you kind of depend on them. So I'm borrowing Randy's. Hey, they're a little stronger than I'm used to. It's actually pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah,
Crystal
it actually
clear.
works great. So for anybody, that's what we were talking about. Then of course I was asking where they were, and they were right here. I couldn't see them because I didn't monitor. So my name is Kim Bedore. I am a technical solutions specialist with IBM Analytics. And a little bit about my background. I think my bio was in the flyer that went out, but I come from more focus on HR, but HR analytics, and have started down that journey when HR was really just not even sure how to collect data, let alone how to do any kind of analytics with it. So it's something I get pretty passionate about, and as such, I also get pretty excited about Watson Analytics because having worked with an audience like that doesn't really understand necessarily seen that journey, they're that typical user that they just need that help to get anything out of their data. They do a lot of spreadsheets and stuff, and Watson Analytics really addresses that need and helps that user community. So I get pretty excited about it. But first I want to take a step back. How many of you have heard of Watson? Okay. So before we go into Watson Analytics, I just want to kind of draw a distinction for you because Watson and Watson Analytics are the same family, but they are different. So instead of going into my thing here, I'm going to bounce over to a slide. I know we're not going to do death by PowerPoint, but I felt like this was probably the easiest way to. Well, here, this helps. Okay, let's skip through a couple of things. So you're all familiar with Watson, the computer that won Jeopardy, that beat the Jeopardy champions, and that was really the beginning of what we're going to talk about today. What Watson is, it was really the first time it was brought to market, that was commercialized. We're using natural language processing, really using that hypothesis generation, evidence-based learning. So cognitive computing. It's kind of a new era of computing that is kind of coming forward, and you'll see more and more of this. It's trained using artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, etc. I don't need to go into too much about that. But that's Watson, if you're familiar with it from Jeopardy. Well, so where are we now? There you go. Okay, so how does Watson Analytics fit in? I actually had a slide that would show you the whole family, but how does Watson Analytics fit in? Watson Analytics leverages Watson's cognitive abilities, that natural language interaction. So it's not that artificial intelligence and it's not the structured and unstructured data that you see with Watson. It's really geared towards using that cognitive capabilities for, in a way to provide a guided experience to business users that generally encounter barriers to getting to their data and being able to work with it. So it provides semantic recognition of concepts. It recognizes when it looks at data, it understands time, date, place, and can help even create hierarchies for a user with that. It identifies starting points to guide the user. After it analyzes the data, it helps, if you don't know where to start, it guides that user through that experience. And then it's natural language interaction, which is really kind of interesting. You'll ask questions of Watson Analytics. You can't do that with Excel. And it will help you find those insights by asking those questions. So I'm pretty excited to show this to you. Get back to my slide here. So let me just tell you a little bit more. What is Watson Analytics? This is a dashboard. It's not anything special, but just to kind of show you something quick as I speak. It's a smart data discovery tool. And what it's really designed for, it's not an experience like you've ever seen before. It's really designed to match the way a user interacts with their data and that logical flow of questioning and that thought process that you go through as you're analyzing your data. So naturally, generally when you're trying to do some analysis, you start with what? You want to know what's going on, right? What is the state today? What's the current state? Once you have a handle on that, the next thing you want to understand is why. I know what's happening, well, why is it happening? And most tools, most BI solutions stop at that what. Watson Analytics will take you into that why and help you find those drivers. And then finally, just following on that experience and how a user interacts with their data, data's just data. I think someone said it over here a minute ago. Data's just data unless you can do something with it. And one of the things once you've done some analysis is you need to be able to share it in a way that's compelling, that's clear, that's concise, that helps you get your message across. And again, Watson Analytics guides you through that process. So does that make sense? Questions so far? Nope. Okay. So one of the things I talk about it being guiding a user, and a lot of times the question comes up, well, what are you trying to do? Replace data scientists? Replace IT? Well, no, actually, completely opposite. It lifts that burden off of IT, the data scientists. Even when you see a lot of departmental solutions, I'm not going to mention any, but I think several of you are using some of them. You have the power user that everybody depends on. It even takes the burden off of that person. Anyone can do this. That's what makes Watson Analytics, that's what I get excited about. It makes it so accessible to anyone. So rather than continue to stay on my soapbox about how great it is, let me show you. To do that, I get a little excited. I think it's pretty, I get excited about Watson Analytics, you can't tell. So to do that, I'm going to actually go through a demo, and I'm going to take on the role of a chief marketing officer at a regional airline, rapidly growing domestic airline. And we're going to go through a scenario and how that marketing officer, chief marketing officer, might go through an analysis. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Okay. So the first thing, just to set the stage with a scenario, I'm going to make a little room here so I can. Okay, so just to set the stage, in my fake domestic airline, the board has had some lengthy discussions about customer satisfaction. Very concerned that our customer satisfaction is below, it's lagging behind. There's some issues with it. So I've been tasked with looking into this and finding out what's going on. Okay. First thing I did was call an agency to do a survey of our customers, of our competition's customers, and focusing on obviously satisfaction and get me some data that I can work with. Now, when you're working with Watson Analytics, I'm going to go to the welcome screen here. Okay, so now I have my data, and I need to make sense of it. And I'll show you. In this case, the agency provided me with a spreadsheet, my data in a spreadsheet flat file. Now, one of the things with Watson Analytics is you can connect it to other data sources. I can connect it to my Cognos environment, DB2, Salesforce. I can also bring in data from social media, from Twitter, to add that to my analysis. So, but in this case, we have a spreadsheet. And you can see it's just typical data that you'd expect, right? Nothing fancy, just kind of, but lots of columns, dozens of columns, thousands of rows. Now, how do you make sense of that? I need to find this, and I need to find the information quickly. Well, fortunately, I have the opportunity to use Watson Analytics, so I'm going to load it into Watson Analytics and go. And it's just this easy. Just going to find that file. And this is the satisfaction survey. It's the same file I just showed you. And I'm just going to drag it over and let Watson Analytics do its thing. Now, what's happening here, this is part of what makes Watson Analytics unique. What's happening here is the data upload has actually two stages. The first part is it's transferring the data, and that's about 20% of the time. And that's nothing special. It's just pulling it into the secure cloud environment. The second part is it's about 80% of the time, the upload process, it's analyzing the data. It's finding out, it's looking at those columns to identify those dates. It's creating hierarchies that are obvious. It's doing all of that work that a lot of times is a barrier to a business user, a general user, getting access to that data. Normally, you have this file, I have to send it off to IT, they have to do some modeling, build some sort of presentation layer, lengthy process. With this, it just does it for me. I don't have to think about it, I don't have to understand it, okay? So in the interest of time, because it can take, depending on your internet speed and the size of the data file, it can take, it can take a varied amount of time. So I'm going to cancel out of this, maybe. There we go. And I preloaded a data set just to, like I said, in the interest of time. Now, this is my data set right here, if you can see it. Can everyone see it? Okay. So the first thing I notice, once it's complete, is this number. And it says 63, and it's a medium quality score. This is a pretty critical piece of information, believe it or not. It's an aggregate of the quality of all the columns in my data. And it's looked at things like valence, skewness, You know, are there, just looks at the value of the data that's in there. It's not a correctness, but what's critical is it actually will call my attention if there's areas that I need to correct, or if there's some issues with my data that I need to be aware of. It's really telling me that's its appropriateness for advanced analytics is probably the best way to explain it. But this is great because now I know that I have a medium quality score. I can move forward with confidence that I'm going to be using this data to make decisions, and I'm confident that the data, I know where the issues are, and I can get some reasonable insights with a medium score. Fair enough? So now I have my data in there, and I want to ask what? I want to find out what's going on. I'm just going to blow this up so you can see it. Now, the first thing that I'm presented with here is some starting points. If I don't know where I need to start, if I just have this data set and I'm lost and I need to figure out what I need to do, it's guiding me to it because it already analyzed my data and found some relationships and some correlations. It's also telling me, you can see the little shadow images, what visualization, what type of visualization it's going to use based on the question it's presenting. So we've got one here, what are the values of price sensitivity by origin state, and the little globe there, obviously that would give me a map visualization. It's a great way to make, that's what I would want to visualize it, make it easy to see, right? But in this case, I really am going to stay focused on customer satisfaction. So the first thing, I'm going to just go ahead and type in natural language. I'm just going to type in a question. How does average satisfaction, just type in ahead to help me out here. And if you notice, the visualizations and the starting points are changing. It's almost like it's listening to me. It's interpreting what I'm trying to ask. Compare by airline. So natural language. Don't have to know anything about the technology. Just ask it a question. It's going to come back. It's going to give me some options here. So how do the values of, and what it's given me is it's interpreted my question and come back with recommendations and lets me know, this is how I'm going to visualize it and here's what I think you're asking. It sorts it in order of relevance, or how it feels like it's relevant to the question that you asked. So it's starting with the top left and moving down. So the first question is exactly what I wanted to know. How does satisfaction compare by airlines?
I think you used the refined.
Oh, did I use the refined one? Ah, okay.
So if you go back and use
yeah, I did. You're right.
Yeah. So if you go back and use the other one.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's try this again.
You don't have your glasses.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That was refined, and we'll get to that in a minute. I used the wrong data set, but I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so it comes back with a perfectly reasonable visualization of what I want to look at, right? And it makes it very clear. I can see that my airline isn't really any better or any worse. It's just kind of in the middle. So it's bringing it to me in a visualization that makes it very easy for me to interpret and find what I'm looking for. And so now I know that. Well, that's kind of interesting. But I know if the board had a discussion about this, they must have heard something, right? So you need to dig a little deeper. You're not going to stop with that. Let's look at. So I'm going to focus on my airline and see what the satisfaction looks like there. Maybe I'll break it down by the tiers, by the type of airline status. So let's go to that. And I'm going to just call it drill across. I scrolled by it, didn't I? Yeah, there we go. Okay. And it's going to give me back the four categories of customers. And again, in the column chart, because that's where we started, now we're manually manipulating it. And we'll get to that. So the 4 columns indicate the satisfaction level of our blue customers, which are our, not infrequent flyers. They're not a real profitable group. They're just kind of the one-offs. Then we have the silver, platinum, and gold, just like you would expect. And I see here that my platinum travelers, they're on the lower end of the satisfaction, so that's a problem, right? Again, quick to see. And that's our most profitable group, so we need to look into that further. So where should I go? Well, here's an idea. Maybe by type of travel. I wonder if that has an impact. So let's add that and see what happens. Okay, so it gives me a column chart, allows me to interpret it, colors it by type of travel, business, personal, mileage used, that sort of thing. But you know, I know you're all kind of wiggling in your seats. I see a lot of fidgeting because you know this is not necessarily the best way. Yeah, see? You can interpret the data, but I've manually manipulated the column chart that we started with, and I know there's a way that I can display this much easier. But I don't have to know what kind, because I can choose whatever I can choose from a variety of types of visualizations, but it also is going to tell me what the best one is to display this kind of data. So I'm going to go with what Watson Analytics recommends, because I think it's smarter than me when it comes to picking that. Ah, better, right? Now you can see your business travelers are the higher end of satisfied, and then down at the bottom, your personal travelers are the least satisfied. And you know, you can see by the size of the boxes, you guys know how to read it, right? So yeah. So that's much better. I didn't have to think about it. It just provided me the visualization, told me how to show it. Pretty good, huh? And no, it's not going to put any of you out of a job. Questions so far? Go ahead.
The sequence of the boxes you did, the first one where you typed in the NLP, is there some weightage on all the boxes which are arranged there, or
when it came back with the suggested question, after I typed my question, it came back with the little boxes with the shadow images. Yes, it's ranked in order of relevance, starting at the top left corner and going across and down. That's how it's gonna. So it's gonna tell you what it thinks is the most relevant based on the question that you asked. Go ahead.
Can you put in an ad hoc question? Let's say you said compare satisfaction between American Airlines and Southwest. What would happen?
You can do that. You can do that. You can say, show me the top 5 airlines for highest customer satisfaction. Or on the dashboard that I started with, one of the questions that I'd asked in that analysis was, show me the top 5 machines, or resource ID in that case, with where failure or fail equals yes. So it would tell me that, yeah, I mean, it's just pulling back the top 5 with the most failures. So you can do those kinds of things where you're filtering. It will actually help interpret.
So what if you put in a noun that it doesn't even know, just come back and say, I don't understand this particular term or what?
I have never had that happen. Have you guys?
So what it does is the data set that you work with, the column titles are very important because those are really what you are going to be asking the questions in reference to.
Right.
So as you see those, as you're working with your data and you're going to be using those column titles to be able to access the data that is accessible.
I'm familiar with that. I'm actually got a natural language product in beta right now that asks ad hoc questions. So I'm familiar with the nouns like tables and columns.
Right.
Then there's also things like phrases. Like, so it asks a phrase, is this better than, or a certain phrase that's not a noun, it's an ad, it's a verb. I'll give you an example.
Compare, like a compare.
I've got a data set that is Major League Baseball. So you can say Adrian Beltre height, which is height is a column, and it comes up right. But guess what? They're not going to ask it that way. They're going to say, how tall is Adrian Beltre?
Right.
So what we're patenting is to teach the computer.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be able to get the column name. You just have to, what you do, you can, but anyway, I just wondered about the ad hocness of the thing. So you can apply to column names, but if there's verbs and things like that.
Like compare or,
Yeah, I mean, it picks up on how you ask the question. It'll pick up on words like compare, show me the relationship, what's the breakout, or the breakdown, what's the average. It gave me an average instead of a sum because I had that in the question. Now, I saved this so I can go back to it, but just to address that as well and helping with questions. If you're not sure, when you first open the data set, I don't know if you can see this on the screen or not, there's a little guide right here that says how to ask a question to help you get going. So if you're not getting what you want, there's some help there for you. You're not lost and just floundering. But really is reading those columns, and that's part of that uploading process, is it's reading those columns and interpreting them. So that when you ask the questions, it's already identified relationships within the data. Yes?
So when you connect, it indicates 67% of quality, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So how does the tool determine the data quality, and what would the tool help you to improve your data quality?
Okay. Let's park that on how to improve it, because I'm going to show you that in a minute. But in terms of how does it determine that data quality, it looks at all the columns, and that number is an aggregate of the data quality for each column. It's looking at things like outliers, skew, whether it's imbalance. Is it one column that has no variables in it? It's all the same thing. Well, that's not really a lot of help, right? So those are the kinds of things that it looks for. Is there a lot of missing data? So those are the things that it helps you, that it uses to determine that data quality score. Yes?
Another follow on to that.
Oh.
Does it do the whole data set, a sample of the data set?
Does the whole data set. It looks at the whole data set.
What features do you offer to enable you to name your headers appropriately so it can make those connections?
Well, there's some guides in the community about that, but it's just common sense. I mean, it's for the most part, you want to, when you're doing the visualizations anyway, you want your labels to be something that someone's going to understand. And if you're thinking along those lines, it's going to be fine. And there are a couple of little tricks, like if you have a number but you want it to be an ID or that kind of thing, if you put whatever your column header is and put ID at the end of it, Watson Analytics will pick up on that and know that it's not a count, it's not a measure, it's a unique identifier. And so it'll pick up on that. And then if you need to change the header and take ID off later, you can before you present anything. Go ahead. Oh, you're stretching? Okay.
If you want to try and find something obscure in your data and the natural language processing isn't picking up the right answer, is there like a command line interface or some other way to, like a low-level interface to play with it if you want something, again, obscure or one-off?
Give me an example. Can you give me an example?
Well, you were asking satisfaction by airline, and it happened to be able to find a column title, I'm assuming, with airline and satisfaction, so it was able to suggest that question. But what do you do if after, or like, I guess you could read that how to ask a better question, but what do you do in the event that it can't ever figure out your question?
Yeah, go ahead, because I've never experienced it where it hasn't. So
Sure. So there are some capabilities that you could leverage to go through a component called DataWorks. And so, for example, let's say you're pulling your data from like 2 or 3 different sources, you've aggregated it into a single data source, as we're saying here. What you can do is basically, let's include this other column of data, these other 3 columns of data. Let's see how that starts interacting with it. And Kim, I think you're going to get to this in a little bit with the predictive capabilities. That's what really, when we start thinking of low-level pieces of it, what's the regression like to where you're going to get some of the predictive types of analytics or insights that you're looking into. And it does all that in the background. So not on the front-end interface, if you do want to get into the details of it, capabilities through like DataWorks that's integrated into Watson will help you do that. So,
go ahead.
So I've got a kind of a question like that for him, because I'm into this NLP, NLU, and one of the big problems with natural language is called disambiguation. For instance, in my major league database, I've got we call them home runs. It's in 5 tables: batting home run, pitching home run. So there's a disambiguation is a big problem. So is this, how do you handle all of this?
Let's.
If you had two column names the same, but they're in different tables, how do you go about determining which one is the one that you want to use or should use?
So, I'll just do it real quick.
Yeah.
And continue on there. You can, it sounds like you'd be asking two questions at that point. And so the way you'd want to bring it in is, even though it's the same column name, when you bring it in or you combine them, name your column something, home run from batting. I'm not making it up right, I don't know baseball that well. But basically name the column according to what it is you're talking about when you pull it into the single data set. Then when you ask Watson about that particular ID or column set, it'll...
So you get a synonym to your data.
Exactly, in a natural language, human readable type of code.
Yeah, thank you.
You have a question in the back?
From a very quick question. So if you fed multiple data sources in, right, and I wanted to be able to understand what equations there are, right? If there is a curvilinear relationship between multiple column values, is there some way that this can suggest that this is the dependent variable, and these are all the independent variables that will predict what the dependent variable is?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. So you're looking at some of the.
Exactly.
So this is really that data exploration piece that we were going through. I'm going to go back to our dashboard that we had started or our exploration that we started. So this is that first step, that what's going on, that just exploring the data, figuring out what's happening. The part you're asking about is really finding those more complex relationships and correlations, right? So we're going to get to that in a minute, and that's the predict piece. So I'll show you that. Going back to this, and I'm going to kind of skip through a couple of things because I think you guys are overseeing these old crazy visualizations. But I do want to point out, just in terms of the guided experience, the ribbon at the top will also look at correlations or provide some suggested insights to look at. Sometimes they're interesting, sometimes they're not. Reality, just realistically. But they change as you change what you're looking at and what questions you're asking. They update to point out additional insights for you. So again, going back to that guided experience. So you can open one up and look. I mean, and I couldn't even read what it was, so I just clicked on one. So, I mean, I can take a look at this and go further if I want to. So that's the gist of it. I can continue. I could keep doing this exploration and keep asking questions and keep looking for those one-off relationships. But really, now I have an idea of what's happening. I want to know why. And that's the answer to the question that you were looking for. So I'm going to go back. And now remember, my data set covers all airlines. And when I look for satisfaction drivers, I only care about my airline. So before I go further, I want to go and refine my data. And this will answer some of the questions that some of you were asking. So to do that, I'm just going to go and it's going to bring up, just to go into a little bit more detail for those of you that were asking some questions, it takes a second for it to come up, but it's going to tell me for each column what the quality score is. And it's going to give me an indication if there's a percentage of missing values, and it's going to give me a little visualization of why it's ranking where it is. So, so for example, you can see, your first flight, that's a pretty decent score, Miss 76. Whereas the airline status is medium quality. Well, you can see by that little visualization, it's because there's a skewness, right? So that's that data. That's how you understand, to answer that question about understanding what the data is. And now this gives you some options to deal with it. You can remove that column. You can filter it. You can tell it what to do with the zeros. You can also, in this section, if you wanted to create groups, to create your own custom groupings. And this data has age ranges, but if I didn't, I could create that here. I could create my own hierarchies here. I could create calculated columns here. So this is where you kind of manipulate and you can work with that data set. This is one area where you can. The other area is where Sunil was talking about when you're bringing in the data and that data works capability. So
could I really interrupt very quickly over there? If our data set was not large enough, right? Say for example, you wanted to run a simulation and some predictions to around mock up the data, and you had only around say 50 data values or so 50 rows, but is it going to be able to also take a look at the data and be able to simulate other data patterns for you so that you can have a larger sample through which you're able to actually make solid?
And so that's where Ken was talking about, where the analytics are actually run. Some of these regressions are done at the time you're actually importing all the data in. So that's what leads to some of these column results that you're seeing, and then the aggregate score. So if you have a sample size of 30, 10, something like that, the overall score is going to be very low because there's going to be really no predictive value in the data. You can do explorative, descriptive type of stats and visualizations that we just saw so far, but from a predictive standpoint, that's where, yeah, your score goes way down if you just don't have the right sample sizes. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Ken,
No.
taking some of your thunder.
No. And I need to let me just introduce Sunil and Ava.
We're the hecklers.
They're the hecklers. That's their job, or to help answer questions. We're all on the same team, and our backgrounds are a little bit different. So Sunil actually has a little bit more statistics. I can't even say the word, let alone do anything with it. He's got a deeper background in that, statistics. Then definitely, I'm not even very good at math. So that's why he's answering some of these questions. And then Ava is, knows a lot about everything that we cover. So now going back to this, I want to focus this on my airline for my prediction, for looking at the drivers. So I'm just going to filter it. Easy enough, right? Done. Save it. I already have one saved. That's why I added the two at the end, just to distinguish. Saving. Let's go ahead and go to that. So.
Left. The one.
I didn't know if it finished saving or not. That's why I wasn't sure to use it. Okay. So now I have the what and I want the why, right? And that's where the predict functionality comes in. This is the part where most data exploration solutions stop. This picks up on that next step and gets to that important part of it that you can now find the drivers you can apply to take action. And it's very simple. I just tell it I want to do it run predict. Give it a name. I know I spelled it wrong, didn't I? And here, then I can choose a target. It's recommended satisfaction already, but if I don't want that, I can choose from other columns in here. But I'm focused on satisfaction, so we're going to go with that and hit create. Now, just that simple. I didn't have to know anything about running the right algorithms or any of that stuff. It's doing all of that for me. It's now going through and looking for those relationships. It's running the right algorithms to figure out how all of that works together. Does that make sense? That was my dumbed down explanation. I can get more detailed if you need, but go ahead.
Kim said it very well in answering the question somebody just had back here about dependent variables and independent variables. Basically, that satisfaction that's listed right there, that's the dependent variable. And you can add up to 5 of those right here. And then during what Kim's about to show, you can start switching those around to find out the interactions.
No, so this is really kind of my data scientist in a box. It's kind of my go-to. So it's running that. And when it gets finished, it's going to come back with a very easy graphic for me to understand what it's looking at. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is being done on the cloud, right?
Yes.
And how powerful is that server? So like if we download the software, are we going to be doing it in the cloud, or is this going to be done locally on your machine? Or
It's all cloud on soft layer. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, like, so if you have data sets and storage, would you have to put all your data into the Watson program to get it analyzed?
Well, any data that you're using, it's going to ingest it because that's part of that process for it to be able to understand it. It's when it's you're uploading or it's ingesting any data, that's when it does that analysis. So if it's not, if you don't bring it in to the secure cloud, it doesn't have the opportunity to do the analysis to provide the guided experience. It can't do its
What
thing.
would be the charge? It would be per gigabytes would would be charged for analyzation of it, or is it going to be a tier situation if you do charge?
Let me give you a quick answer, and then we can get into more details at the end if we need to. But it's a monthly subscription, and there are tiers based on how much data, and it's just you select it. And each tier also has like different abilities, different types. Some have more capabilities than the others. Like you're seeing in mine, I have a personal tab and a share tab. That's because I have professional version. There's other versions, and it's just it's a per user monthly subscription. Okay, that's the netted out. Yeah.
So if you have a client who's interested in seeing like the detailed score, the correlation scores, is there an opportunity to kind of see what's happening in the black box as a to show like what the actual correlations are? Or...
Let me show you what we can. So back to that data quality, and I mean I was going to talk about this anyway, so now is as good a time as any. We talked about the data quality, and it assigned a data quality score here as well. Okay, so it's giving me that information, and it's telling me, it's giving me some analysis details. So of the 30 columns that I had, it used 27 of them. It kicked out ones that didn't have any relevance to what it was trying to do. Maybe they didn't have any variables, like the one where I filtered out the airline to just Orson Airlines. It's not going to use any others. It's not going to use that because it's no value. So that's what it does. So there's that, but then I can also look at the, bless you, I can look at the quality in more detail. So it's telling me by column, and then it's letting me know that 3 fields have constant values. Those are the ones that it didn't use. 11 fields have outliers. So it's telling me that, and I can then dig in a little bit deeper if I need to. Does that answer your question?
I want to know actually what the raw score is, like how strongly that correlation is. So it, attribute A, how strongly does it correlate with customer satisfaction? How does attribute B, how strong is that relationship?
Okay, no, we're getting there. You'll like this. Okay, so it comes back with this bullseye, satisfaction in the middle. The closer you get to the middle, the more accurate it is. But initially, it's giving me a single variable, a single thing. And I can look at that, and it'll give me details there about it. I can pop it up, and it's telling me it's 30. This basically the predictive strength means that this applies to about 34% of the or the small. Yeah.
You're a little less powerful.
Oh, yeah. Better. Thank you. So this applies to about 33% of the records in this data set. That's what that predictive strength means. And you can dig into more details, but it's just giving you a single variable, and we all know this is more complex than that. So getting to what you're looking at, I'll have it look at a combination. And it's going to give me that here by the bullseye where I can pull up and just look at the summary, predictive strength, what columns, those details, or I can look at it in more detail. So is it safe to assume you all know how to read a decision tree? Okay. So this is telling me the highest values, but because we're looking at low satisfaction, because we want to address that, I'm going to switch it to the low target values. Now what this is giving me is, if you can see the little blue circles, I don't know if you can see the numbers that are from back there or not, those numbers indicate the priority. So your number one category for low satisfaction is going to be, let me highlight it here so you can see it. Why is it not?
It's on the box.
Yeah.
No,
over here. On the box?
Box next to it.
62
Oh, yeah.
and 69.
Okay, so I was going to follow the path. I wanted there we go. Okay. So my number one combination for driving the lowest satisfaction is first, personal travel. And then if it's a personal travel that's either blue or platinum, that there was a arrival delay, and their age range is in the 60 on up age range. That's my number one group. That's the business rule. Does that answer? And then 2, it's a completely different data set. It's a different path. Is that what you were looking for? Okay. Yeah, so that's a visual representation, and that's great. And some people love these. Some people need it in plain English spelled out. So it gives you that option as well in the top decision rules.
Yes, so, Kim and Sunil, a question over there. It ranked the dependent variables by their most influence, right? That particular chart that showed the 27 ones. So, and it came up with a score. I'm assuming it's some kind of a correlation as to how well it explains, right? Is that, what kind of a model is it behind the scenes? Is it just coming up with a linear logarithmic experiment?
It really depends on what type of data it is. So if some of these are categorical variables, you can only do certain types of analysis on them. Whereas if it were certain range, you could start doing linear regression, for example, to them. It runs all those in the background based on the type of data it is. And I think to answer the question here at the back, basically the statistical details of those correlations, you can click, for those that are so inclined, you can click on the details link. That'll give you some level of details. Then when you go to the decision table, you can get even more details on the effect size based on if it's a regression or yeah, exactly. You can start seeing the specific statistical scores that you might want to look at based on if you need to do much deeper analysis somewhere else.
So are you familiar with, is anybody familiar with SPSS, with Modeler? Okay, has anybody worked with it? Okay, when this runs predict, it's essentially doing that under the covers. That's the foundation of this predict module, just for anyone that has experience, if that helps clarify a little bit. So there's the business rules, and these are the things I can take now and apply them. I want to save this because I'm going to use this later to look at marketing campaigns and have it every time. It lets me collect it. I don't have to recreate it later. I don't have to go find what I did. And I could use this now in a dashboard if I wanted because it's part of my collection. And this is one of the things that I like, depending on the audience, is a word cloud. You guys know what word clouds are, where the largest word has the greatest level of importance in the correlation. So that's another, just another way of looking at it, more simplified version for the right audience. It gives you the options. And I use this one a lot in dashboards. So I'm just going to save it so I don't have to go back and find it again. So that's the predict module. A little bit more about it. Again, it's giving me that guided experience with these top field associations. So it's looking beyond just that customer satisfaction target that I was looking at. Again, sometimes you'll find some really aha things that you wouldn't have thought of. Sometimes it's pretty obvious. In this case, average flight distance and flight time are positively correlated. Well, of course they are, right? So, but these are some additional insights that it's suggesting that I might want to take a look at. Did I forget anything? Any questions?
Well, one comment that I would make is, like on this predictive, it's not meant to replace SPSS or R. This is not a full-blown statistical modeling tool. This is designed for the business community so that they don't have to be, a statistician. I can say that word. They don't have to know all the algorithms and things like that. All this is done behind the scenes for them. They're concerned about satisfaction. Well, guess what? I call it the easy button. Mm-hmm. You click that button and it goes away and it runs all the statistical analysis behind the scenes, and it tells you, here's where you need to start looking. But now, once you know this, you might want to take this into a statistical modeling environment and, develop that further. Right, so I think that's going to get to where you were wanting to go about the dependence and the correlation on that.
Yeah, I have a question. Does it have a capability yet of dealing with streaming data, or does it have to be columnar?
Right now, it's all
structured. Yeah.
The less normalized it is, the better.
So you don't have to try streaming data, whether it's keeping or breaking it up and suggesting column names and all that.
Not the way it is at this point. It doesn't do the refinement in that sense. You'd have to go in and manually do that, but it does do refinement in the sense of trying to figure out what type of data it is and automatically assigns the data type essentially.
Because from what she said, I understand that data type does not matter.
It doesn't, but it'll.
The names matter.
The names matter.
So
exactly.
it doesn't have the capability of suggesting, just breaking the stream and suggesting content.
It doesn't do that.
Not yet.
No, I mean, you gotta remember what the audience is. It's not gonna replace the deeper dive. It's not gonna replace Modeler. It's not gonna replace your BI solution. It's a starting point for a business user to get them going, to show them, to convey it very easily for them to understand. One of the things, I mean, Ava said, if you need to go deeper, now you take it to a statistician, or you go into it to a deeper, predictive tool. This will help shorten that cycle of communicating between the user and the data scientist, because they're able to kind of capture some information to relay what they're trying to do. So there's some value there as well. Make sense? Did I forget anything on the predictive?
I mean, there's a
You could go on and on. Yeah, I mean, it's in the highlights here. We could dig into this and have the whole hour or more on that. So that's really how we get to the predictive side. Now that we know what and why, we need to be able to communicate it, right? And so that's again where Watson Analytics helps us out. I'm going to go back to my data set, and I'm just going to want to assemble some information. First, we just have to give it a name, and I think there's another one, so I'm going to do that. And then I can do a couple of things here. I can pick a free form, or I can pick a template. For, again, someone that doesn't do this a lot, the templates are kind of comforting. They help them know that, they're going to have something that's going to look good. You have other options as well. There's infographic templates and other things. So I'm just going to pick this one, that one. And hit create. And it's going to give me now a template to bring my data in. So the first thing I'm going to do, since I saved data, since I saved a few things along the way, I'm just going to pull it in here. Just pull my workload in there. So I can continue to do that. This is the chart that we were looking at, the last one we were looking at in Explore. So just that easy. I can bring in images. The URL down here saved. Okay. And because it's cloud, if there's an image that's out there that has a URL and it's public, you can use it and pull that in as well. So I'm just going to put an image in there. And so on. I can get it to fit right in there. I can add text. I can add, maybe I should go back and label an image. You can apply all the best practices. You can add shapes, draw arrows to point, call attention, all of that kind of thing. You can put the image in the background. There's a lot of flexibility here. It's not going to be InDesign. It's not going to give you that level of flexibility. Let's remember what it's used for. But it's going to give you can change the theme. You can change the background color. On this image, maybe I don't want it to be that way because I want to put something on top of it. I mean, that's not real pretty, but you get the idea.
You can be very creative.
Yeah, it allows you to be
hours.
You really can. You really can. It gives you themes to start with.
Is this done by end users or
Yeah.
IT people?
End users.
End users. Yeah. This is, as you go through your data, you don't have to wait for IT to build a presentation layer. It's just there.
About the training time.
Well, the goal with Watson Analytics was really to design a tool that was very intuitive, that required very little training. And so therefore, it's a matter of dragging and dropping. You didn't see her do any sort of coding. So it's meant to be very simple, yet very powerful. And so does that answer your question? Yeah.
So
maybe a couple of weeks or something.
No,
I would say a day.
It's that easy. It's a day. Yeah. Sure. Now these are all things that I had saved, but I can create something. I want to maybe put in this one. I had some Twitter data on flight delays from another project, so I am just going to go and add. Let's just do a cluster problem, and I can go and pull that. The data that I've uploaded, I can pull from anything to pull into this chart. So in this case, I'll pull my flight delay information. And go ahead and put author, state, and categories. Let's size by tweets. and color by sentiment. Actually, I can go down here and pull it down if I wanted to as well. So I don't have to keep going through this part of it, but where did it go? There it is. And then maybe color by sentiment. Done. Just that quick. It was that, I mean, so makes it very easy to create the visualizations, but maybe I'm not sure if this is the right one. Again, it's going to make a suggestion. And it can automatic, or I can go and choose from a variety of them. I can also filter on things that are on here, on the charts, and it'll filter the other items as well. So questions? Go ahead.
So if I'm an end user and I'm preparing, let's say, a presentation this month for something that I'm planning to present next month, is there a way for me to refresh the data in a way where once I create this, what appears to be kind of a static dashboard that I want to view the data in, but something changes, sentiment changes, maybe we've done something to correct this and I want to look at this a year from now. Is there a way for me to refresh the data sets and create the same visualizations?
Yes, yes. It gives you the option, replace all the data, so you can pull it in and replace it and refresh it if you want.
And it's got to be the same format, obviously.
It's got to be the same data source, yeah.
More bad things will happen.
Right.
Here's just a completed, that particular data. Here's a kind of a completed dashboard. Again, it's, there I could continue and add titles and do all the best practices, but just to kind of show you where we're headed with it. Go ahead.
How do you address issues like HIPAA and FERPA privacy compliance in your cloud-based environment?
Great question, actually. So Watson Analytics is hosted on SoftLayer. And if you need information about the security and the compliance and all of that, I have a white paper that I can share with you. HIPAA, Watson Analytics is working separately for HIPAA certification, and have you had an update? I'm thinking, I had heard that it was supposed to be this.
It's in the works.
Yeah, is it, yeah.
Watson Health?
Well, that's a different,
that's
this is just, what he's talking about is being HIPAA compliant, so you can use this for healthcare. Yeah.
FERPA is education.
Yeah. So, and so most, we have a lot of them, but the HIPAA we don't have yet.
So one other thing I want to comment about with this dashboard, let's say that you're giving a presentation and you want to call out certain things. You have your storyline, right? And so you first want to talk about the map at the top. So you can actually create a storyline where it actually goes through and it pops up the particular object that you want at that particular time. So basically you plan out what it is that you're going to say, and then those objects can appear at certain times in your presentation. So therefore it's a much cleaner and, I don't know.
It keeps them focused on what you're talking about. Yeah, I hadn't gotten there. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I was just getting ready to go there.
Okay.
So yeah, it keeps them focused. So instead of just showing a little dashboard, you can guide the conversation and set them to come up when you want to. And it's just, if you've ever done any video editing, it's just the same kind of concept. First thing maybe I want to talk about how we're, I have so much trouble dragging and dropping. But you can, start to bring them in one by one, just on a timeline, and set the timelines and stuff.
It needs to be saved in common formats, such as PowerPoint or PDF.
Yeah, so what good is it if you can't share it, right? Yeah, so you can email it, and you can do it a couple of different ways. Or you can share it, you can download it, in PowerPoint, you can email it, you can send it in JPEG forms. There's a variety of different ways that you can share the information. Twitter,
and
yeah.
Facebook is coming.
Yep.
So speaking of Twitter, is there, obviously social media changes constantly the content. If you're wanting to integrate that, is there a way to have like a live feed connected to this, or to set up like an automatic refresh or scheduled refresh your data? I'm just thinking, if you're an end user, you don't want to jump through that hoop every hour, every week, if possible.
Do you guys know? I don't have the answer to that, actually.
Or if you're an IT department trying to hook it up to a database, production database of some sort.
That's built in. So basically, when you add a data source, like one of the data sources that Kim could have added in here is one of the, let's say, a cloud-based data source. Okay. Right. So if it's attached directly to that, it's going to be the data that gets pulled in when the analysis gets done. Okay. So you have that way you don't have to upload a spreadsheet.
So, I mean, this is an example, because it's a continuous development model, the things are being added all the time, but these are some of the data connections from data sources. And then we've also got Twitter and social media. Go ahead.
From within the dashboard itself, are there ways to correlate or be interactive with your data sets? So, for example, I saw the map. Is there a way to isolate and say, I'm going to click on the map looking specifically in Texas, that's going to shape the way that the rest of my, there you go. Okay, so they're all interactive in a way.
Or I can come over here and say I want to look at personal travel only.
That's great.
So it just updates it all.
And do you have to link that somehow, or it's just feeding off of the...
It's just linked. When you bring it in, it's just an automatic thing. Again, making it simple for an end user or business user. Other questions? Go ahead.
Once you create a dashboard and then you share with other users, do they need to have the same kind of license? And then what if they want to change some of the views in the dashboard?
To share it, you can share with individuals that don't have a license for Watson Analytics. You email it to them, you download it and share it that way. You can do that. There's links, you can send them a link to it. So you can share it. They don't have to have a license for Watson Analytics. In order to share what you've built and give them access, you have to be on the same, you have to be on basically in a group together. On professional, which is the highest tier for Watson Analytics, there you can create groups. So you can share information and have your personal folders and share with your group. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? So there's two different ways. With a license in your group, or without a license or not in your group. Go ahead.
So you see pricing model like purely based on the storage, or is it like storage and compute?
It's set based on the amount of storage, but it also has there's rows, there's amount of storage, and then there's also how much you can get from Twitter, how many tweets you can come in from it as well. I couldn't get those words out.
So, in fact, I was going to kind of talk about that. There's actually 3 different versions of Watson Analytics today. One of them is free. Yes, I said free. If you go out to watsonanalytics.com, that's kind of everything analytics for IBM. And you can actually get a free version of Watson Analytics. And that way you can kind of play with some of the functionality that's available. Granted, you can't pull in, let's say, a corporate data source, but if you have like a spreadsheet, you can upload that spreadsheet and do a lot of the things that Kim was showing you. So that way you can kind of get a feel. And you were asking about how easy it is to use, the training thing. You can go out there and play with it and see for yourself that it is very intuitive. There's also a personal version, and I want to say it's like maybe $50 and $30 a month. Okay, $30 a month. And I can't remember the size level, but I know that the professional version, it's $80 a month. And I just jotted down some notes this afternoon. So it's for, it will take up to 100 gigabytes of storage, which is actually quite a bit. It also supports a multi-user. So therefore, if there's people within your team that you want to be able to share things with, you can set things up as a multi-user, and then that way you can share, as the question was asked earlier. Also, bringing in tweets for social media. You can bring up to 50,000 tweets for each data set. And you can upload up to 500 columns and 10 million rows. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea as far as volume is concerned.
Is this for the professional version?
That's the professional version.
Yes.
Go ahead.
when you're trying to bring two data sources together, do you do the data binding on the layer, or you need to do it before you
Do the what part? I'm sorry.
the data blending?
The data
If you want to
blending?
bring two data sources together, do you do that? Can you do it on the layer, or you need to do it before you import this?
Using the DataWorks functionality in a database that's a cloud-based database, you can actually create those joins, bring them together before you bring them in. Does that answer your question?
Do you need to use JSON or any other language to do this?
Nope. It's meant to really, and I don't have a connection to show you, or I would, but the DataWorks, everything that's on here is meant to be very straightforward, right to the point of the pictures it uses. For DataWorks, if you're joining two data tables, you don't have to know about inner and outer joins or any of that. It draws pictures and puts it in the language of a typical business user. They don't have to know IT, so they can join them that way before they bring it in. Does that answer your question? Okay.
But they have to join it before it comes in.
So related to the DataWorks question, within DataWorks, if I have let's say I'm a pro user, but I've got a really big database, I've got 60 million rows that I want to analyze every year. Is there a way for me to filter that before it's brought into the cloud, so that I don't have to filter or go through and filter out just down to the 10 million rows, or I get a data out exception?
Well, some of that you would do with the data as you're bringing it in with that DataWorks capability.
Yeah, so you pull, let's say you do the query, you can have that paired, instead of 6 million rows, your query results in, let's say, 1 million rows, for example. You'll pull in 1 million rows for the analysis. It won't pull in all 60 and then filter it down.
So there's a way for me to tell it that before it goes and pulls the data.
Yeah.
And as a business user, would you have to write custom SQL for that? Or is there a tooling on DataWorks itself for them to be able to go in there?
The latter. So you can, instead of even calling it joins, they call it matches.
Okay.
And literally you start drag and drop in the tables.
It's everything in here is geared towards a non-technical person and making it as easy as possible for them to do.
100 pages, it's hard to do their interim joins.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So if you do, like, say, 1 million rows or something like that, is there a time frame that it takes to actually analyze that? Is it like 30 minutes or 10 minutes? Or?
Well, so the time that it takes to analyze it depends on a couple of different things. One is going to be the size of your data set, and the other is going to be, your internet connectivity typically, or in how, that sort of thing. So there's not a typical time. It really depends on all those factors that you normally have to deal with when you deal with the internet.
So effortless.
Did that answer your question?
So the roundabout is normal as like uploading something, and then it takes, after it's uploaded, what do you think the time for that is uploaded?
It's a couple of minutes sometimes. I mean, the data set that I used, it's 14,000 rows, I think, and it takes a couple of minutes. On a just as standard, like at my home, on an internet connection, it's not speedy. But it just depends. It depends on the complexity and the number of columns and the all of that as well.
How does this work when you're dealing with the database behind the corporate firewall instead of a cloud source?
Yep. And there's our security guy right there. It's secure. They offer their secure gateways. And that's about as deep as I
go into your Kimberly.
Right here.
Yeah, and then
The administer.
And then secure gateways.
And so basically you can create a VPN site to site so that you can have access to your on-prem data sources.
Anything else? I mean, I could go on and keep showing things, but I think I want to make sure I'm addressing what you want to see as opposed to following a scripted outline. So I think, that's really, I've shown you the basics, giving you a pretty good overview. I hope that you see how easy it is and how I challenge you to think about something that you're working on that this might help you shorten your development cycle. I already said, go out to watsonanalytics.com and sign up for a free version and play with it yourself. See, that learning curve is not hard.
One quick question. So is there anybody here in Dallas that's up on Watson, like the Innovation Center or something, IBM?
I'm sure that we can, You're looking at
Right.
Dallas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're both Dallas based.
I think go play with it. I think if you go and just try the free account and play with it a little bit, I think some of those types of questions will resolve themselves for you. Yeah.
I did have a question. So I've been playing with it since the summer, I think, late summer. And so the tweet thing is new. I think I saw it not too long ago. So my question is though, if we're analyzing tweets or we're trying to analyze them or whatever, and in an unstructured tweet, we have some databases that we have several people with this legacy and report over. Back then when we used to say everything they want to tell about the customer was in one field. Is there a way to analyze that?
Sunil, hang on 1 second.
Exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, Sunil, before you answer that, hang on 1 second. We've actually gone over time. So, I mean, we'll answer questions as long as you have them. We'll do the best we can to answer questions. But I just wanted to thank everyone for your time. And again, go try it, watsonanalytics.com. And if you have any questions.
And thanks again to Kim and IBM. Please go out to Meetup, comment, rate, send me emails if you've got topics or speakers that you'd like us to see if we can get to come in future events. And thank you very much for coming out.